My manager called me into a team meeting. I thought it was just a routine check-in. It wasn't. He stood at the front of the room, looked right at me, and said, "Honestly, I'm not sure you're pulling your weight around here." 12 people were in that room. 12 people heard him say that. And I just sat there, completely still, hands flat on the table. Because I already knew something he didn't. I had the numbers. And they told a very, very different story. If you've ever been told you're not good enough by someone who never once looked at the actual data, this one's for you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because this one pays off hard. My name is Jamie. 2 years ago, I was working as a senior sales analyst at a mid-size software company in Austin, Texas. It was the kind of company that talked a lot about culture and transparency. Open floor plan. Standing desks. A snack wall that was somehow always restocked with kombucha nobody drank. I'd been there for 3 years. Worked my way up from coordinator to analyst. Built reporting dashboards that the VP of sales literally used in board presentations. And my manager, Derek, had been there for 8 months. 8 months. He came in from outside, fast-talked his way into a director title, and immediately started running the team like he was trying to prove something. Derek was the kind of guy who confused being loud with being right. I noticed it early. I kept my head down. That was my first mistake. The pattern. It started small. The way it always does. Derek would ask me to pull reports. I'd pull them. And he'd present them to leadership without mentioning my name. I'd flag an issue in the pipeline. He'd relay it in the next stand-up like he'd spotted it himself. Once, I built an entire attribution model from scratch. Derek sent it to the VP of sales with his signature at the bottom. Not a single word about who actually built it. When I brought it up privately, he waved it off. "That's just how it works at the director level, Jamie. I own the output of the whole team." I remember thinking, okay, fine. I'll just keep doing the work. Eventually the right people will see it. But it got worse. The quarterly numbers. Every quarter, our team had a performance review cycle. Individual goals, revenue impact, client retention rates. All tracked in a shared system anyone with the right access could see. That quarter, I had done something I was genuinely proud of. I had redesigned our lead scoring model from scratch. And the sales team's close rate on inbound leads went up by 34%. 34%. That translated to roughly $1.2 million in additional revenue. That quarter alone. I documented everything. Timestamps. Methodology. Before and after metrics. I assumed Derek would include it in his review of my performance. I was very wrong. The ambush. It was a Tuesday morning when Derek sent a calendar invite. Title, Team Sync Q3 Wrap-Up. Normal enough. I showed up. Grabbed coffee. Sat down. And then Derek pulled up a slide. It had my name on it. He looked around the room. At my colleagues. At the 2 other directors who'd joined the call remotely. And said, "I want to take a moment to address some performance concerns about Jamie's contributions this quarter." I felt the air leave the room. Productivity has been inconsistent. Output has been below expectations. And frankly, I'm not confident we're getting the ROI we need from this role. 12 people in that room. Some of them had worked with me for 3 years. And not one of them said a word. Neither did I. Not yet. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that he was reading from a document. A performance improvement plan. He had already written it. Already decided. He wasn't asking for input. He was making a move. I sat in my car in the parking garage for 45 minutes after that meeting. I wasn't crying. I was thinking. Because something had clicked. Derek hadn't done this by accident. This was strategic. He'd built his narrative. Inconsistent, underperforming, questionable ROI. And he was laying the groundwork to push me out. Before I became a threat to his position. He knew what I'd built that quarter. He'd been taking credit for pieces of it for months. If I stayed and got recognized, it would expose everything he'd been doing. So he was going to get rid of me first. And that's when I realized. I already had everything I needed. The data. The timestamps. The documentation. All of it. Sitting in my laptop. Waiting. I didn't go to HR that night. I didn't send a passive-aggressive email. I did something better. I went home, opened my laptop. And I built a presentation. Not a defensive one. Not emotional. Clean. Professional. Data-driven. Slide 1. My Q3 goals as assigned. Slide 2. Actual output against each goal, with links to the source files. Slide 3. The lead scoring model I built. The methodology. The timeline. Slide 4. Revenue impact. $1.2 million. With the attribution data to back it up. Slide 5. A side-by-side comparison. Derek's performance review claims versus the actual metrics in our shared system. I worked until 1 in the morning. Then I sent a calendar invite to Derek, the VP of Sales, and HR. Subject line, Q3 performance discussion, data review. Simple. Professional. Impossible to ignore. The meeting was Thursday at 2 p.m. Derek walked in looking confident. He had his own folder. His own notes. He thought this was going to be a formality. The VP of Sales, Karen, sat at the head of the table. HR was on a video call. Derek started to speak. I appreciate everyone making time. As I outlined in the performance review. I slid my laptop to the center of the table. Actually, before we go through that, I put together a data review. Would it be okay if I walked everyone through it first? Karen nodded. I opened the presentation. I walked through every slide. Calmly. No emotion. Just numbers. By slide 3. Derek had stopped taking notes. By slide 4. Karen was leaning forward. By slide 5, the side-by-side comparison. The room had gone completely quiet. Karen looked at Derek. These metrics are all in our shared system. Why weren't they reflected in the performance review? Derek opened his mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. I may not have had full visibility into all the attribution data. Karen looked back at me. Jamie, this lead scoring model. You built this yourself? Yes. I can walk you through the full methodology if that's helpful. She nodded slowly. Let's reschedule. I want to loop in the full leadership team. Derek's PIP was never mentioned again. 3 weeks later. Derek was reassigned to a different division. 6 weeks after that. I was promoted to Director of Revenue Analytics. Same building. Different title. Significantly different salary. And Derek's new team? They report to me now. Here's the thing about quiet revenge. It only works if you've actually been doing the work. Derek thought the meeting room was his weapon. He forgot. I'd been building mine for months. Your documentation is your power. Your data is your voice. And when someone tries to write your story for you, make sure you've already written the real one. If this story hit different, smash that like button. Seriously, it helps more than you know. And drop a comment. Have you ever had someone try to push you out before you could prove yourself? What did you do? Subscribe for more stories like this. Because karma doesn't always show up fast. But when it does, it shows up with receipts. See you in the next one.